Good evening. Welcome to Kingdom Lum Small Town Underground. This is the candidate conversations. This is be my last candidate conversations leading up to the primary. I do expect to have one more, a special one, as long as I can get it scheduled, because I want to tell everybody how much I appreciate all the outreach and getting in touch. I know there was people we couldn't get scheduled. There was people we tried. We had weather issues, equipment issues, you name it. I really appreciate just so many people that were reaching out. I'm sorry that we didn't, if we weren't able to get it, but I have overextended myself, so I won't be able to do any over the weekend. I'm trying to get one more in that will be kind of a special one. We're going to try with somebody down in South Georgia. And I mean, like, it means a lot that people are really checking out the content. I promise after this, once the dust settles, as we move along, I've got some new equipment, new things that we're moving forward with to make the show better and to get more outreach. And I want to send a special shout out to Roy's Bonding Company, my father, who, it wasn't for him, wouldn't not be able to do this, how we do it. So I just wanted to say thanks to Roy's Bonding for everything, because we're keeping this thing rolling. So if you're ever in jail in Walker or Chattooga County and you need a good friend, you call Roy's Bonding. So tonight I'm very grateful to be here on live stream with Lisa Babbage, who is running for state senate in Georgia District 55. Correct?
Just District 5.
Oh, District 5. I put District 55, so that's a typo, and I will fix that here shortly. So, welcome to the show this evening. I'm glad that you're here. We don't know each other very well. We did get to meet. We got to meet at a fundraiser and got to hang out for a little while. So, we've been kind of talking and planning this. So, it's my pleasure to have you this evening for our candidate conversations. I think you know how passionate I am about grassroots people and getting the word out. So welcome to the show. And we'll start off. I want you to introduce yourself to the show. Tell us who you are, what's your plan, what are you running for, where you're at, and I'll finish setting everything up. So take it away.
Thank you so much for having me, and special shout out to Roy's Bonding. I love that.
Thanks.
I'm in District 5, which basically that covers a sliver of Gwinnett County, but it goes east to west across the county. So it's everything from Lawrenceville, Duluth, all the way down to Tucker. So it's a really good cross section. And I have been involved with Republican politics as long as I can remember, but also involved with the Gwinnett County State Party for years. And there was a candidate that was running unopposed for 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And, I just thought that's not right. So, the Lord willing, I am in this race and I'm really excited about it because I don't have a primary challenger. And while I have run before, this is the first time never having a primary challenger. So it's kind of nice
That's good.
to kind of ease into the primaries. But there's still a lot of work to be done because this district, Senate 5, as well as Gwinnett County as a whole, we have a lot of opportunities as conservatives and a lot of ground to make up. So I'm really excited to be in this fight.
Cool. That's I just want to tell you how much I respect you for running. It's something that I could never see myself doing, but of course I never could see myself doing this either. But here we are. So I mean, much respect for standing up and running. We need as many of grassroots, just people to fill the positions in the state so that we can start working on accountability, transparency, protecting our Constitution, all of these things that we've just let completely slip away. So tell me more about your demographics, your areas. I'm sure this is Metro, Gwinnett County. You've got like 1 million people in Gwinnett County alone, right?
We do. I
Yeah.
mean, my target number is 67,000.
Wow.
What's
Okay.
interesting about my slice of Gwinnett County is we've got about one-third registered Republicans, most of them hard Republicans. We have about one-third registered Democrats. And then we have a group of what I would call truly independents. They did not engage with President Biden last time around. They did not engage with President Trump. I think that makes them ripe
Right.
for the picking. And engaging with those voters is going to be what it takes to truly push me over the top. I will tell you that many Democrats in this district do not care for the incumbent. So there's not strong support
Right.
for that candidate, even as a tenured incumbent. So I think it's a very winnable seat.
Right. Well, give us a little bit of insight about your platform. Okay.
Sure. So I'm a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, honestly, but I will say that I'm focusing on three things this time around, and I call them the three E's. The first is the elderly. They're kind of the foundation of all of our communities. They put in that hard work. Many elderly are being taken advantage of right now, whether we have people squatting in their house, doing quick claims deeds to take their property. I was just part of a group that did legislation to help expand current protection laws for the elderly to include their intellectual property as well as their real property. So I'm really passionate about making sure that generationally we respect the elderly and we allow their harder work not to be stolen from them by squatters that are just coming across our border. But second of all, education. That's our future. I have been a
Absolutely.
teacher for 20 years. I am seeing a lot of questionable things concerning our kids, not just in Gwinnett County, but everywhere. And everybody knows this is a big issue. So that's definitely my heart. But finally, the third E is economics. I've been a part of workforce engagement groups for years. And obviously, if we can't put money in our pocket, if we have to choose between heating and eating, that's our present. That's the situation that we're in right now. This recession is not being a friend to anyone, and we really have to stabilize our workforce.
Right. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I like that. So you've got a whole plan laid out. I like it a lot. And speaking of elderly, I know there's a lot of concern with especially with elderly about these phone scams and things going on of that nature. Like I got one yesterday, and my father, he's 81 years old yesterday, as a matter of fact, and so
Happy
there's
belated.
a lot of electronic scamming going on, things like that with our elderly people, and especially if you talk to people that work at a bank and how many times they come in with these scams. I mean, that's a lot of things going on that we've kind of got to look at in the near future as technology just, is so much in our lives.
I think about, I'm a grandmother, but I think about people my age. It's hard for us to keep up with it. Imagine an 80-year-old or
Yeah,
even a 90-year-old trying to combat phishing scams. I mean, it's crazy.
it is. It is. It is wild. So, what are your thoughts? I'm obviously small town underground, so a lot. We don't have a whole lot of huge development up here, and where you're at, I'm sure it's growing by leaps and by bounds. And this state has got a major focus right now on land development and construction development. What are your thoughts on that type of stuff? I mean, obviously, we know we need infrastructure. We know we want to create jobs, but what are your thoughts on just what I would probably consider overdevelopment, of the state?
You know that Gwinnett County was the fastest growing county in America for 7 years straight. Now that time was come and gone, but we didn't have time for intentional planning, and it shows. I was raised in Old Fourth Ward. That is in the heart of Atlanta, so I know what overpopulation looks like. I know what overcrowding looks like. I know what not having a park looks like. Didn't move to Gwinnett County for that, and neither did anyone else. To be honest, we are very proud of our parks in Gwinnett County. But what we're seeing is a lack of intentionality on the part of our board of commissioners, on the part of developers who are truly building prior to people coming here. And I understand the logic behind that. But if you did not change the streets, if you did not plan for supporting those communities, why are you building housing for those communities? So a lot of people in Gwinnett County feel that there is a lot of overbuilding happening and that contractors are kind of just running amok. I know just because I've been in Gwinnett County for 20 years, I see us trying to protect our green spaces, but I mean, the traffic alone is horrendous. And most people who have run in Gwinnett County kind of focus on the traffic. We have major problems. We had Dead Mall I want to say it's been a dead mall for like 10, 12 years. We finally got the county to purchase it. But is that what we want to do with malls? I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So thankfully, Gwinnett County has positioned itself to hear from the community. And I don't think it's too little too late, but I do think if we don't have legislators in place that are willing to halt, stop, we're going to lose it.
Right. I agree. I agree. I've been to Atlanta probably more in the last year, year and a half than I ever have been, and it's pretty wild, the development. And I've got friends in McDonough, Georgia, where, and then I'm recently been hooked up with a lot of people in South Georgia who are saying the warehouses are taking over from the Savannah ports and all the way up to Cartersville, and
Right.
where they're just like invading entire communities of people. And up here, it's something that was new to me. We don't have a bunch of warehouses and things going up. We're pretty landlocked in the mountains, but it's like, wow, when you really take a step back and look at all the development going on in the state, it's something we're going to have to address head on. There's a lot of
Correct.
money to be made in construction and development. We know this, and the government needs to understand. Well, we have Hollywood moving in. We've got all of these things coming up in the state. Atlanta is just growing by leaps and bounds, and we've got to kind of wrangle this stuff in. We really do, or else we're gonna turn this whole state into a strip mall.
If you're not smart about city planning, you are going to create an armpit. You said a strip mall. I call it an armpit.
Mm-hmm.
And so none of
Yeah.
us want that.
Right.
I really don't mind someone moving here, but what I mind is the fact that we are accommodating them more than we are accommodating people who have been born and raised here for generations and really appreciate the slowness that the South has to offer. That quality of life that other people are escaping when they come here.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
you said it yourself now. I feel like that right now under our gold dome, we don't have people that are as concerned as maybe you and I are of it, and that's what we're trying to change. So, uh, you know. So I've
Yeah.
got two questions I ask every candidate. The first one is I would like to know your views on the Constitution of the United States of America.
Well, I think it was divinely inspired by the Bible, which is inspired by God. I do think that if we don't keep it, it's very fallible. As it was written, obviously it's been changed a little bit through amendments over time, but I believe as it was written, it was a divine design. And I think that it gives people the closest look at what humanity should be doing as far as earthly governments. I mean, to me, it's a thing to behold. It's sad as a teacher that so many people don't know the Bill of Rights by heart, for example. And, I could probably count myself in that group from time to time, but civically, we are ignorant as a nation. And we could blame education for that. We can blame public education for that. We can blame parents for that. But I think we all have to shoulder that burden because the Constitution is worth protecting and it's the highest law of the land.
100% I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In addition to that, my second question is I'd like to know your views on the Second Amendment in particular, and do you stand for the right to bear arms?
You know, I, this is a funny thing in my personal life. My son just moved to the mountains pretty much, and he has bought a holster that he wears all the time. And it's not just like, okay, it's in the safe or it's in the car, it's wherever. No, it's on his person at all times. And I kind of pat myself on the back because I raised that boy.
Right. There you go.
I raised him we went to the gun range together as a family coming up. We purchased our guns together as family members. In fact, I purchased most of my guns in North Georgia. Um, I would say that the Second Amendment is not just about hunting, as some people would say. It is not about some ancient history. I think it's about right now. Now, when I recently submitted my candidate questionnaire to a couple of 2A groups, I will say I don't mind a week-long waiting period. I don't mind a month-long waiting period.
Sure.
Personally, I feel like most gun owners don't mind either because we're already strapped. And if we're just buying something else for the joy of it, I don't mind that. We know criminals are not going to legal gun businesses. They're not waiting 30 days. They're buying it out of the trunk of someone's car or whatever else. So I do agree with the argument that it penalizes good law abiding citizens. However, I think it's a small sacrifice that we can make to keep this narrative pushing forward because we have to protect our right to bear arms against tyranny. And that's just the bottom line.
That's
You know,
absolutely.
countries that disarm, they get taken over.
It's sad when you can't even have an honest gun debate in a country like this because they're constantly that right is constantly being under attack, and you can't even sit down in a room and discuss sensible things that go along with guns and how to keep and protect citizens because just the draconianism of talking about it. It's such a polarizing issue. So, I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm a huge Second Amendment proponent, and we must be able to protect ourselves and keep and bear arms away from a tyrannical government, tyrannical anything. So,
Correct.
I appreciate that. So and by the way, the chats are open. Anybody has any questions, any comments, feel free to share this around to all the groups. It's public. You go right along with it. So I'd like to bring up. So tell us. I'm going to pull a clip up here in a second, and I want you to give us a little background today. This is pretty neat. So tell us what this clip we're about to see.
So myself and a couple of other folks from Gwinnett County was recently interviewed by MSNBC, and their question was really focused on the Trump trials and how that will impact our support of, our nominee and how is the pulse on the street when we think about all the cases that are coming forth. So it's great.
Cool. I like it. So you were on MSNBC today. I'm fixing to pull it up now. And wherever we can watch it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I don't know that you're going to be able to see this, Lisa, but I'm going to let it play. And let's check this out. Here we go.
About women, we're talking about the fact that there were some people who maybe wanted to go for Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis and aren't necessarily going for Donald Trump, especially because of those trials. And so I do think those people are still up for grabs. Let's talk about the trial, though, because when we talk about the fact that, people are watching, we're, of course, talking about it. A lot of people here say they're not necessarily paying attention, but here's how they say it may or may not move the needle. Take a look.
Everybody says they're picking on him. People are tired of going after him, and you see it in so many areas. It's really not a big issue in the party. Actually, they're really making everybody mad, and they look at a big bully, and the government is the bully.
It's actually making people more angry. They know that this is a guy that he's a billionaire, and he doesn't need to run for president, but he's doing it for us. He has a heart of gold.
Him being charged with anything is not wooing me, but for others...
But it's not deterring you either.
It's not deterring me yet, but for others, it is wooing them. I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump.
Now, Katie, just very quickly to pick up on that last point from that voter that you heard from, Lisa, she talks to a lot of voters. She's an active volunteer, but she also said that she's talked to people who say they just don't necessarily have the stomach for everything that's kind of surrounding Donald Trump when you talk about these 4 criminal cases against him. And she says that on the flip side, she has spoken with people who maybe were in his column before, but they say that they're now maybe leaning toward a third party candidate, maybe even a few people leaning toward Joe Biden, simply because they don't necessarily want to stomach all of the drama, in her words, that kind of surrounds him when it comes to these court cases. Katie?
Okay, that's really interesting. Shaq, what about you? You're in Michigan today. I know you spend a lot of time in Wisconsin as well.
All right. Let me pull this back. So there we go. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the ugly truth is that not everyone has the Constitution within them.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of cowards, I would say not just in Georgia, but in this country, which is kind of why we're in the situation that we're in. And I've talked to many people who are registered Republicans. Last time around, they said they would not vote for President Trump because they didn't like the messiness that was associated with him. So this was before all of these cases. I know they feel the same way. And it's unfortunate, but I believe the distraction that these cases are putting out there are meant to do exactly that, to draw people away.
Right.
But just as many people are digging in harder and saying it's Trump or no one.
Well, I agree. I would go so far as to say that, even if that's obviously sort of a plan, right?
Yeah.
To drive people away from Trump. The problem I get, and I love Donald Trump. I don't believe he's a messiah. You know, I don't worship the ground he walks on. I would much rather be able to criticize the man and have an honest conversation, right? But the thing about it is what we're seeing, these kangaroo court trials and all of this persecution that is literally going nowhere. I mean, is just an attempt to stop him. It's a fifth generational warfare tactic that they're trying. The Saul Alinsky rules for radicals, that they're going after this man because they're so afraid of an American first agenda. And I think they're really just screwing up, or divine intervention, because it's I saw it. I can't remember the pundit's name, a video I watched the other day, but he was a Democrat talking about how they needed to stop all of this because it's like throwing spaghetti against the wall. You know, it's literally nothing is sticking, and it's driving more people to Donald Trump, you know. And
but
of course,
the problem.
Go ahead.
You know, it's driving people to Trump that hadn't voted for him before in some instances.
Right.
You have people who, on one side of their face, are saying they're for Trump, but on the other side of their face, they can't deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those never Trumpers, they're still out there.
Yes, they are. And I think I'm not going to sit back and name like cowards or whatever, but I think what a lot of this boils down to is there's a lot of people and a lot of Republicans that they don't like any sort of diversion away from the line. They want things to be good. Their lives are good. They still have jobs, they have families, and they don't want any of this mess. And so they get very uncomfortable at everything that it seems to be going on. And my point to that is that you can never get too comfortable in a country, in a society that it is this degenerate. You know, where we are going, the liberalism, all of the socialism, the fascism that we see every day. You have to take a stand. Now is the time to take a stand. You cannot sit on the sidelines, regardless if you think Orange Man tech's bad and all these things. Like, this is the time where you've got to stand up and get out, get uncomfortable. Like people like you and myself, I'm not comfortable doing what I'm doing. You know, a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you do a good job." Listen, I could walk away from every bit of this if we were living in a society that we didn't have to constantly fight and kick and scream for. And I think that is just a huge, a broad spectrum of where we're at as a society. You know, they're trying to rip us up. They're trying to divide us by race, by class, by gender, all this ideology that is taking away the humanisms of people. And Lord, and we're caught, and yeah, you're right, we're caught in the middle of this Trump frenzy, right? But
Right.
it's the other side that's creating all of this. I've never seen anything like it.
You know, here's what really pisses me off, if I can say this.
Sure.
You know, we have lots of people who say they're conservatives. And I'm not just talking about rhinos, this mythical creature. I'm talking about there are conservatives who would say the same thing, use the same reasoning for not reaching to ethnic minorities.
Right.
Ethnic minorities are conservatives, but they don't want the mess.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to take the time to go knock on someone's door that looks different from them. And again, we have kind of allowed this to happen. Yes, the other side is pushing it, but we gave them all the space to do it.
Right.
And so now we really have to dig in and fight back.
I agree. I've never, ever had an issue with talking to somebody that was a different color than myself or different ethnicity as myself. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we need to start running to instead of running away from. You know, we're all one people. It should be America first,
Right.
regardless of where they come from. And reaching out to people that have been sold a lie their entire life, basically. And there, a lot of more people are waking up and understanding this. And it fights against these narratives because they understand that race, it drives money, it drives power, it keeps people divided. And we're not buying this. I mean, I've never bought this in my life, and I will never do it. We're better than that, and we need to. People need to understand that. Of the vast majority of Republicans feel the same way. It's our responsibility to reach out to each other and to shake hands and to come together at an understanding. You know.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest. Go ahead.
Most people in rural areas agree with you. It's
Absolutely.
not happening
No,
outside of, the metro area.
I understand. Everybody's in their own little cliques and circles, and it really sucks. I mean, I started a Second Amendment group with a couple people, and one of them was one of my best friends. He's a black guy. We grew up together. We do a lot of things together, and he had the same problem on the opposite spectrum. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to remain kind of in the back because a lot of my family, they're Democrats, and if I'm out there in front with you, then they're going to be asking questions and mad and stuff." And I mean, I understand that, and he's red pilled like you'd never believe, But it's a real thing where you have to hide things from people because they're going to judge you, and because we all have these different perceptions, but it's something we got to get better at. Really, it really is.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I did that documentary I was telling you about.
Oh, yeah.
Systematic deception. So it basically took a cross-section of Black America, very well-known people, and some people you would never know their names. All of us telling our story based on the book I wrote, Black History Bible.
Wow.
The subtitle of that book is How the Democratic Party Has Deceived People.
Mm-hmm.
And I took those little interviews like we are doing right now. Everyone telling their story is very similar to the one I grew up with.
Wow. I just pulled it up now, so on YouTube, and I will post some links here. So I want you to go into a little bit more of this, but this is called Systematic Deception. Now, we will post a link up in the comments to this. This one particular, looks like this is a clip from Newsmax. Systematic Deception exposes the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. So this was based on a book that you wrote, huh?
Yeah. I ran for Congress in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I reached out to a Black pastor for help and advice. And he said, you really need to write a book that tells the truth about what has been going on in Black America. And he said, I need to get it out by Black History Month. And we were talking over winter break. So I'm a teacher. I had a couple of weeks off and was able to bang this thing out. And sometime later, an independent filmmaker picked it up and said, this is going to be my next documentary. So I executive produced it. I called everyone in my Rolodex, set up interviews, and we just started filming.
Man, that is awesome. And
Newsmax eventually picked it up.
that is awesome. I'm going to tell you something. You just gave me cold chills because this is my next little pet project that I have been looking at this thing for months, and of course with Biden's inflation it kept going up. So I have had a script wrote for quite a while for a documentary, a lot like you're talking about, like rural America, with not even really a theme, just people talking and having conversations, kind of like the show. Because I get so tired of the narratives out there, and we don't have enough coverage. We don't have enough normal people that are just speaking their mind, and especially when it deals with questions that could be uncomfortable, and I think that's great what you've done. I definitely got to check that out. So that's where we need to be.
Normal people.
Mm-hmm.
Normal people.
Right. Because what have we been under for so many years? We've constantly been given the thumbs up from our representatives and said, don't worry about anything. I'm holding the line. We trusted people to do the right things and to be transparent and to be accountable. And look where we're at right now. We're trying to remove people who are entrenched in a political system that is all about them and not about the people. And we've got to do something about that. And the people are the ones that have the power. We have to wake up and realize that we do, and we need to come together under that principle, I mean, when's the last time we've had anybody held accountable for anything? Anything?
I was just thinking that we joke about the word swamp, but we've actually allowed that swamp to kind of spread.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just in DC anymore.
Yep. Agreed. It's all over the place. And coordinated. A lot of these laws and these bills that get brought up in our legislature, the same ones that are getting brought up in 20 different legislatures. You've got groups of lobbyists and law firms writing this stuff from coast to coast, and they're just throwing it out there. And I often use the analogy, it's like a pinball machine. You put the quarter in, it doesn't recognize it, it spits it back out. You try it again, and at some point it's going to recognize it. It's the same way with these bills. These draconian bills, they just keep repackaging them and just throwing them back out there. and throwing them back out there until they get the votes, and then there it is in law. It's insane.
Well, the branding that we put on legislation today, I mean, and Georgia's not nearly as bad as DC, obviously, but the names that we come up with, the 3,000 pages that no one has time to read. I mean, how have we even tolerated this?
I don't know. How do we have omnibus bills? I mean, what in the world?
Right.
We've got to stop this stuff, man. When we need people like you in office to stop this stuff and get back to we the people. I mean, it's all it's all about. So, but we'll definitely be checking out your book. So,
thank you.
Anything else in particular about your area that you'd like to bring up?
Well, I mean, I do want to focus a little bit on education.
Yes,
I've been a
please.
teacher for 20 years, and when we think about the next generation of voters, we have literally more work to do than I think most people realize, because we have immigrants in our public school system that don't have the background of American history. We have American-born citizens who have no knowledge of what our government documents truly mean. So we're actually setting ourselves up to have the most illiterate voting base in our country's history.
Agreed.
You know, back when our country was founded, people did not read at the same level that we supposedly read today, yet they were more literate, politically speaking, than we are. And that is a serious thing.
I agree. There's so much that we could unpack there. What are we teaching? I mean, if you look at the Columbia University, Yale University, all these protests that are going on, they're espousing the same garbage that our taxpayers' money paid for to teach them these kinds of things. It's kind of insane when you think about it, the complete 360 of what we're teaching. The college professors want to, they don't want to teach the Constitution. I mean, we've got to. You're right. The next generation of the TikTok generation, they know nothing about their rights. They know nothing about the Constitution, the bedrock of society. And here we are. Our society's trying to tear the history down. They're trying to tear everything down and dumb us down, where we should be learning from history, learning from the mistakes of the past, and understanding how to go forward in a society. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
It is, and it really makes us freeze a little bit, because we're kind of in shock and awe that this is actually happening, but we have to re-engage. Two things. I will say, it's funny that, all of these anti-Semitic protests are going on college campuses, yet Jews built so many of these schools, are currently historically funded these schools, and the students who attend there don't even know that connection. They don't even know that history. And then another funny story is, I was driving in New York one time when we were doing a pro-Trump event, and someone cut me off. And being from the South, I paused, looked around, said, see what happened. And behind me, everyone started honking. And this guy said, you weren't hit, keep driving. And I chuckled, because I realized, there's something wrong. I can keep going. But that's what we have to do as patriots. We have to realize we're not hurt. We're still able-bodied. We still have a constitution in place. We still have a path and purpose to freedom. So we have to startle ourselves back into motion. Instead of the shock and awe freeze, we've got to go forward.
Yeah.
And we've got to do it with all our might.
That's right. We spend a lot of time being reactionary. We just react to whatever the latest is going on. And I'm like, no,
Right.
we've got to do more than that, Absolutely. So, well, where can people find you? Where can people support your campaign? How can people get in touch with you?
So my website is votebabbage.com, which Babbage is just like cabbage, but with a B. You can find me on social media. Almost every Babbage in America is related to me. So if you find that name, you're going to find me. I want to share my cell phone number, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
678-725-1146. Why am I doing that? One, I'm not afraid. I know God put me in this race. I feel like He's going to push me through. So I welcome your prayers, but I also welcome any conversations. If you have a community you want to reach out to, and maybe you want some advice, I'm here. Feel free to text me. Feel free to call. I call myself a people's candidate, and I want to make myself available to all Georgians.
That sounds great. That's wonderful. Yeah, you've got a great platform. You've obviously done some really cool things. I'd like to post a video. I can't wait to watch the documentary that's been filmed. And can we buy your book anywhere? Is your book on Amazon or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got several books on Amazon. As a matter of fact, I wish I had one handy. I wrote a book about President Trump called The Dominion Mandate. So if you put in my full name, you'll find those books on Amazon or on my website, which is lisanoelbabbage.com.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. All right. So we do have some few comments we're going to go through. Just a couple tonight. We've had some viewers coming in and out, so that's good. Sharon Holland, again, thank you for watching. Sharon's here with me just about every time, and I appreciate it so much. Noreen Cantor, it's good to have you this evening. She says, stop indoctrination of our kids. I could not agree more. Speaking of education, I'd like to ask this real quick, bringing that up. So a lot of school money, because we're all kind of growing and finding out that a lot of our property taxes and things like of this nature is not necessarily millage rates or commissioners, but it's a lot of school taxes that raise our property taxes. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you're probably a little familiar with some of the James O'Keefe, stuff about how some of these school packages that come through states that have this sort of DEI stuff in them and all these earmarks where basically it's all tied to money. We have these packages, and if you decide to teach this curriculum, then we're going to give you some brand new football fields and all this money. But if you don't pick this, then you're not going to get anything. I kind of think that's a problem. I think that's too influential to be teaching these kinds of curriculums based on what kind of grants and money that you can get. Do you see that?
It's even more in depth than that. I mean, that kind of like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. We understand that it's corrupt, but we understand it. What most people don't know is that all of the textbooks and all the resources we use in Georgia, 99% of them have been approved by New York, California, or Texas. Now, Texas is not horrible, but the bottom line is Georgia's not taking the time to evaluate their own resources. And we do that for cost reasons. Now, many times we will go through the charade of adopting a textbook or adopting some sort of curriculum, but really it's been recommended by those 3 states and the book publishers. Second problem is this: the federal funds that we receive, yes, of course, they have strings attached to them. What has happened is that the left has tapped into those streams of revenue. They have presented to our school boards, and our school boards have adopted them. This is the problem, the school board. This is why you saw mama bears at the school board. I just spoke with the school board last month to get technology that actually makes sense in our classroom. What we are doing is laziness. We're taking someone else's opinion. We're taking someone else's presentation. We're allowing the school board to pass it, and we don't even know what happened. Secondly, on that front, to add to this, all of this is being pushed because of unchecked immigration. That's why we need more SEL. That's why we need more DEI. That's why we need all this support, because now we have schools full of people that don't know our history, don't know how to assimilate, haven't been given the time or the tools. And so we're throwing everything at it to try to make things okay. But that's not how you solve any problem. That's not how you bake any cake.
Sure.
And, no one bothered to do that when the slaves were freed. We had to figure it out. We got private funding. We went to school. It took time. You don't come across the border with no language skills, no country skills, and then we just do everything for you and we change our program because you're here. I am the daughter of an immigrant, and I was raised by an immigrant that's Hispanic origin. So it's not that I don't appreciate diversity or people, but we have to do what's right for American taxpayers who are footing the bill for these skills, for these schools. And we have teachers who are ill-equipped to deal with, honestly, the violence and the rage that happens when a child leaves their home country and is forced into a situation they know nothing about. So we coddle, and we pay to coddle. And then we tell anyone who says, that's coddling, you're a liar. This is what's got to stop.
You said it great. We didn't even touch on immigration, but how, it seems like that they are creating problems where they already have the solutions. And all this is really done on purpose. I mean, how can anybody in their right mind think that some sort of unassimilated immigration would benefit any country in the world, no matter all the narratives and all this? And this is insane what we're doing. And it's almost like by design. Of course, we all know that there's a replacement migration theory. We all know that
Not a theory.
well, it's not.
say
It's really not exactly. But we know that this is being done on purpose, just to realign the census and get these people square in line with the Democrats.
And create a one world order.
A one world order. You said it. All right. See, I wasn't even going to go off into the territory, but hey, I got you, and a lot of the people
That's
got
my
you.
line. I got you. That's
Yes,
my line.
yes, you did, because that is exactly the plan. That's what we talk about a lot. The things that are coming at us at breakneck speed is insane. So this is the time. This is the time that we get people in that's going to hit this head on and stop it. So, yes.
And you know what? As much as we can talk about all of these things that make us shiver, we have a strength that really surpasses all understanding. Why would a ragtag bunch of patriots? Well, it sounds like 1776, doesn't it?
It does.
We know what happened there.
That's right. That's right, and that's one reason why they're scared. They might think that they're the power and control, but if we can wake more people up and make people understand that we have the power, and the hope and the faith and the love, that we've got God on our side, we can change this. There's still time, and we can turn this thing around, and that's what we try to do every day. So, all right, Noreen Cantor says, and one day they will be running our country. So scary. I think she's talking about the children that are not being taught in the correct ways. Absolutely.
Right.
Noreen again says, I am running against a rhino in House 30. Amen, Noreen. We have to try to get you on the show, man. That'd be awesome. That would be awesome. She says, stop taking federal money for our schools. Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack there. Lord, the things that I'm finding out, like you said it yourself, the school boards is where we need to start taking focus. We need to get people in there who understand the dire straits that we're in, not only with our curriculum, but the money that we're taking in, and the taxpayer funding. I mean, we're going to take a serious look at our school boards for sure.
I mean, the lack of accountability of the funding.
Yeah, that's got to change. It has to change.
Yeah.
All right. Noreen says, stop the illegals. We have 4 sanctuary cities in Georgia that we know of. And she asked if Gainesville is a sanctuary city. Not sure about it. I mean, they could be. I know that we've all found out Athens was, and I'm sure that
Gainesville has a huge Hispanic population because of the chicken processing plants.
Yes.
And so I believe that there are some groups that are putting in supports that lead to a sanctuary city. But I go to church in Gainesville, so you have some on fire believers, large church that is engaging with that community, and our pastor is a patriot. Our pastor is pro-Trump. So we got our eyes on Gainesville.
Sure.
And I feel safe to say we don't have to worry about Gainesville right now.
Amen. I worked in the union for years. I worked next to Latino people that I became so close to. I lived close to Dalton, Georgia, the carpet capital of the world. I worked with a lot of Hispanic people. And I'm telling you, that's the fear. They understand that once somebody of a different race or wherever they came from becomes assimilated, they can see past that veil, and they understand there's so many people that understand, even working next to people that were illegal in this country. And I've always stated, if I was somebody from another country like that, I would cross the border to come over to America. I mean, nobody blames these people for what it's doing. It's our fault. It's our responsibility that we've let this happen and get out of control. And but once you come to this and you understand nobody's out here. I mean, nothing is bad. Everybody's pretty good. We treat each other good. We've learned. We continue to grow up together and raise our children together. It's like they understand, oh, wow, this is really crazy what's going on. And they come from countries that are already under these. Like, I had Josie Cruz on the other day from Venezuela. And she's like, I lived this. You know, most of your immigrants are the ones that are standing up and saying, "Hey, you don't want any of this."
Right.
It's amazing to me, you know. So, all right, and she said, "God can do the impossible," and we do agree with that. So,
Amen. Amen to that.
well, we appreciate all the comments tonight. I'm going to give you the last word. I want you to tell our audience what you want to tell them.
I just want to say to everyone who's listening to keep the faith. I want you to know within your knower, know within your heart that God is on our side, that He has a special purpose for the state of Georgia. I want everyone to be encouraged that no matter what they're seeing, we know the end of the story. We know how this is going to turn out. So just keep the faith, keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And to add to that, you know, you can see my little paper please back here. Listen, it doesn't matter what's going on. We all know that we've got dominion systems in the state. They're not going anywhere. We've all are watching the election commissions. We know now what's happened in this state. We know that the 2020 things were way different than we've been sold. It does not change the fact that you need to get out and vote, that you need to go vote no matter what. Take your family, your friends, your relatives, take them out and vote. Don't sit on the sidelines. I have had
overwhelm the polls.
Yes.
Patriot votes.
Absolutely. Overwhelm the polls, overwhelm the algorithms. They're not going to be able to put tape up on the walls this time. They're not going to be able to stop you from watching the polls or doing any of this stuff. We're not going to shut this down. We're going to keep it rolling. You have to go vote. You must participate. So, so important. And as I always say, vote your conscience 100% of the way. Vote your conscience. We've got to make a conscious effort to get new people in under this gold dome so we can change some of these things that we continually gripe about every single day. All right? Man, can't say it more. But, folks, I appreciate it. Lisa, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. If you're enjoying this, if you think what I'm doing is a good thing, you can always go to givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. That's a way that you can help support me and the show. I am going to be coming up with some changes and doing some more things. I'm planning on doing a lot more videos and stuff with my new camera and some more in-depth stuff. I would just like to say a special prayer for everybody that is running in the primaries and coming up to the 21st. It's going to be here pretty quick. You've still got time to go vote early. You've still got time to vote on election day. Don't sit there on the couch eating potato chips and watching the football game. Get out and get active and vote. And Lisa, we want you to keep in touch with us. I'd love to hear from you after the primary. Let's see where you're at and what you're doing. And we thank you so much for the difference you're making.
Thank you, guys. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
We have a conference in Atlanta the weekend of June 1st.
Okay.
And we have just been told that we have a very special guest speaker, an orange man with blonde hair. So I would encourage all of your viewers to consider coming into Atlanta for the weekend of June 1st. It is called the Conservative Coalition Conference.
Okay.
And I'll make sure I get that link to you guys. I've got a special discount rate, and I'm part of the steering committee. So I'm very proud of the work that we've been able to do to get. Donald Trump is committed to coming and speaking.
That is awesome. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes, please make sure I get the link. And I'll make sure to get it out there. You heard it here, guys. Donald Trump's going to be there. You can come out and see him. You can meet new faces. You can communicate, and you can make alliances with brand new people. So that's what it's all about. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up tonight. And appreciate everybody. And feel free to share this far and wide. Lisa, best of luck to you. And this will end the candidate conversation. We'll be back next week. I've got some special stuff coming up and some guests that are some guests that I don't even know if I'm ready for. Way bigger than myself. So just be tuning in to Kingdom Lump Small Town Underground. And you guys have a great evening.